Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Hey, and welcome back to Quranic Connection TV. I'm your host, Abdul Shahid, and in today's episode, I want to talk to you about something that is really plaguing life for so many families. The question we're going to address today is, why do husbands and wives, why do families have such difficult time getting on? Now, we're going to be talking about specifically husbands and wives, like relationships, but actually, the relationship dynamics, they play out through all of our relationships, whether it's with our siblings, our parents, our kids, even at work. So if you can take something out of this that would play out in pretty much most relationships. So, but let's focus in on marriage, because that's a very common one, right? So, the question is, isn't life challenging enough that we could just stop and just fix our relationships, fix and save the family from the disaster that we seem to be nearing? And the thing is, if you're thinking thoughts like this, you might want to just really focus in on a couple of questions that you want answers to, and look for those as you listen to me. Because look, what I tell you isn't necessarily going to be what you hear. Like, what you get out of listening to this podcast could be a lot more than what I say. And all that requires for you to do is switch off all distractions. Because one of the greatest challenge that we face is that we're trying to get clarity in the midst of chaos. Like trying to get a clear mind, trying to find a solution to the problems that we're facing. But you're doing that with everything coming at you all in one go. So switch off your Facebook, or close your Facebook, close off the tabs, and switch off all those apps that are running in the background. Focus just for a short while and see what you get out of it. Because when you focus and you slow down and you think about what's actually happening, you're going to get a lot more out of it than what I expect you would, right? So how can I fix my marriage, my relationship, save my family from falling apart? Have you ever wondered what it feels like when a family is tearing itself apart? Two people cannot connect because they're constantly at each other. You know, when people you love the most, or those people that you want to love the most, seem to really get under your skin. You know, husbands and wives, they're fighting with each other, and it becomes so challenging in the family life that they look at each other, blaming each other for all of the issues that they're facing. You know, how could he or she have been so inconsiderate? Why does it feel like, I'm not supported, they don't have my back? And the worst thing that could come out of it for many people is that they don't feel that intimacy anymore. There's no real intimacy, because you just can't go from that the evil eye or the cold stare of death, where you're staring each other out with this anger and emotion all behind it, rapidly to this, the loving moments of enjoying each other's unfunny jokes. It's difficult to break out of that harsh mode of thinking and into that happy lovey-dovey thoughts. It's difficult to break into that. And you know what I mean when you hear the underlying feeling. And I got this from a great coach. She says in talking about relationships, she mentioned the phrase that goes through a sister's mind, a woman's mind, when she gets married. It's like, you complete me. When I heard that, I thought, you know what, subhanAllah, that is so telling about how women see their husbands. And the funny thing is, like, we men, we don't actually think that way. And it's not that, we don't love our wives, or, the men, they don't cherish their wives at all. In fact, men love their wives. They adore their wives. But they show it in completely different ways. And this is the difference. The old, I don't know if you've ever read it. I've actually never read it, but the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. The only thing I took away from that title, because I actually never read the book, the title is that, we are so different. We're like different planets. And that's the truth. And the metaphor I'd like to give you is that men and women, we're from the same planet, right? We've been created to be together. However, men and women are like the sun and the moon. And you can decide on who's the sun and who's the moon in your family, right? But here's the thing. Who's that fiery, red hot, burning sun in your relationship? And who is that cool, calm, serene moon that lights up the darkness of the night? That lights up the life of your world. Who is that? You see, it's the perfect metaphor for men and women, because one is the sun and the other is the moon. We are totally different. However, the difficult question, which is invariably going to be, different in every household, is who is which. And you might be thinking right now, well, that red hot sun, so fiery 1 minute, lighting up my life with warmth and love, then all of a sudden sparks start to fly and temperature just heats up, and before you know it, that fiery anger just comes out of nowhere all of a sudden and just burns me down. That's my spouse. You might be thinking that. And the thing is, at the same time, your spouse may be thinking exactly the same thing, because we think completely differently. On the other hand, you might be thinking, my spouse is the moon, so calm and thoughtful, always taking care of things. I can rely on them. The atmosphere is nice. There's no temper tantrums, no rash behavior, and I can really rely on that sort of person or that type of behavior. It's like all the beauty and the calm in my marriage comes from my spouse. What is wrong with me? Why can't I be like that? And you could be thinking like that. And I feel like I'm the sun, 1 minute warm and loving, and then all of a sudden my sparks start flying and I just explode and let my rage out. Those are situations. Look, they're two completely separate situations, but it could be that you go on further, to try and solve that problem. You recognize the problem, so you try and solve it. You say, I try to be connected to Allah. I try my best to pray and do good to others, but for some reason, life just always gets in the way. And bang, before you know it, I'm in the middle of a storm and it's all getting out of control. Husband and wife both unhappy. The kids can't handle the atmosphere. And the general mood in the house is either fireworks or complete silence, as though you are in a graveyard. It's like complete drama or nothing at all. And it's just horrible. So here's the question. Let's get out of that story for a second, because you might be imagining right now that that's playing out in your life. So let's just pull ourselves out of that story, because that's only in your mind, right? It's not actually happening now. So if you're feeling like a little bit anxious, or if you're feeling a little bit like, that describes me all the way, like, it's just your thoughts. So just back off and just pull yourself out of that just for a second. So here's the question. Do we have to be like the sun or the moon? Do you have to be that person? Or could you have the best of both? The sun and its warmth and its loving, how it just lights up your life. And at the same time, having the calm, the serene coolness of the night, or the moon. You see, that's the struggle that most couples have. And the truth is, you might not see the humor in it, because you're so caught up in it, you're so wrapped up in it, that for you it's unbearable. And I get that completely. No one likes to be in that situation. No one wants to be burnt, whether by themselves or by their spouses, or by whoever it is they're dealing with. But the last thing I want you to do right now is get caught up in that story in your mind about what's happening and how you can't handle it, because what I'm saying is reminding you of all your problems. So I want you to back off and just think about it like, it's just a story that's playing out in my mind for now. And let's look at how to deal with it. So number one, if you are the one with the anger issues, experiencing, these flying emotions going all over the place, where you feel like you're losing control from time to time, then the first thing that will help your marriage is just to understand and acknowledge what's actually happening. Because this is one of the biggest problems. It's so important, because if you don't even know what's happening, and you're the one who has the issue, then you'll always feel as though it's your spouse. You'll always blame the other for causing your problems. You'll always think someone or something is causing you to lose control. But here's the thing. You are in control of yourself, even though at times it doesn't feel like it. You absolutely have control of yourself, and no one else can have that control except Allah. You see, others may say or do things that really tick you off, that really push you to the edge. But that doesn't give them the power to actually cause you to react, cause you to, have that internal reaction. Because that internal reaction, those feelings, those emotions that you're experiencing when you're in a situation, it's not happening outside. It's happening within your mind, within you. You interpret everything that comes into your mind, and you have the power to stop that interpretation. And you can change it and just let it go. Truth is, letting it go is the easiest way. It's as though you've got an interpreter in your mind. Like every one of us has that, right? So you're traveling and you go to a different country and you arrive there and you've got a problem. The language of the country is Chinese, and your interpreter speaks Dutch. So every time you hear something, your Dutch interpreter mistranslates or translates it into a different language. So you're just not going to understand the people that you're communicating with, because the translation is wrong. I know that sounds like a bit of a funny example, but look, that's what's going on. Like within our minds, like we are interpreting things in such ways that they get us all worked up. They get us frustrated. They make us feel hopeless. They make us feel angry. They make us feel like we have no control. But the reality is that you can let that all go. You don't even have to control it. Just let it go. So let me give you a quick way to do that. When something or someone is annoying you, your feelings about, you're feeling something that maybe is anger, sadness, frustration, or whatever you feel, whatever is affecting you, all you have to do is focus or look at what you're focusing on. Imagine for a second that in the middle of that situation, you suddenly get, imagine you're like totally angry. You're totally angry. And suddenly you get distracted by something really beautiful. Something wonderful happens. Something really funny. You might even feel the urge to laugh in the middle of that anger. And if you can't bring yourself to laugh, like you smile a little. And at the same time, your mind is going back to anger. So ask yourself, do you ever remember a moment in your life when you were really angry? Then all of a sudden something happened and you thought about something you felt was funny. Then all of a sudden you laughed and then found yourself in between wanting to laugh and wanting to be angry. Because that's happened to all of us at some point. All of a sudden you're stuck between laughter and anger, or laughter and sadness. You're feeling sad and all of a sudden something makes you laugh. A thought or a feeling or someone says something. You see something. So you struggle to decide on which one to be or which one to do. I want to laugh, but I'm angry. Which way do I go? So you might laugh and it's all over. And then you just get on with things. You actually give in to the laughter. Or you might decide to be stubborn because you feel wronged and you stay angry or you stay sad. But then what you're feeling after that is a lighter form of anger or sadness, where you just move on without losing it like you might have done otherwise if you didn't get distracted with that funny thought. So the question is, what actually happened in that situation? You see, what is happening here is that you are between two states of mind. Anger and chill out mode. Anger and laughter. Either you lose it versus you have a laugh. In that moment, you decide which one you want. And you can move into laughter and a completely lighter, chilled out frame of mind and let the anger pass. Or alternatively, you can choose to stay with anger. And what you do is you let that window of opportunity pass. Either way, you have a choice of what you want to focus on. Whatever you decide to focus on, those thoughts will fuel your anger, or they will be the ones that calm you down. And then you will feel what you focus on. And that will become your state of mind. You see, changing the state of mind is as simple as focusing on what you want to. You don't have to be angry, and you don't have to lose control. Losing control is just a myth anyway. It doesn't actually happen. It's just something that we say to describe how we're feeling in that moment. Describe the rage or the uncontrolled anger. Because you do have actual control over your mind. Like, you have the ability to focus and choose. And you can control how you behave by controlling what you focus on. You see, the Prophet ﷺ informed us that if we find ourselves in a state of anger, that we should change our physical state. Because by changing that, we change what we're doing, and that will have an effect on what we're feeling as well. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, if you're standing, then sit down. If you're sitting, then lie back. And look, the whole point of going from the position of standing, because when you're standing, you're in more of a confrontational position. But by sitting down or by reclining, your physical position is the position of relaxation. No one starts freaking out when they're in a reclined position of relaxing. The change of physical state, it helps you to change your mental state. So if you're angry, get into a relaxed thinking. Distract your thoughts and focus on something else. Changing your state of mind or what you focus on in that moment is always down to you. No one can force you to feel or think something that you don't want to. You have the power of mind to change that. And it's what you might call emotional resilience or even emotional power. And the truth is, you have both of them. So whether you're the one who has to endure that emotional roller coaster of a family member, or you are the one that's causing the emotional roller coasters, then you have the power to focus and you have the power of choice. If you tell yourself you can't do anything, because that's what people do, right? They tell themselves, I have no control. I've lost all control. If you tell yourself that, then that is your challenge. It's what you're believing in. It's what you're telling yourself. By saying this to yourself, you talk yourself out of your God-given ability of choice and focus. No one can control your mind except you. Others or circumstances or things that happen do not control it. And they only have that ability to control it if you give it to them. So here's another thing. Like, anger and emotional control is one thing. But another way to really spice up a relationship and make it enjoyable, and this is the key, this is a key, is to have a nice and enjoyable family life. If you and your spouse are not able to let go of what has happened, you'll always find it very difficult to stop and just enjoy each other. You and your husband or your wife and your children will be affected by this poor choice, the choice of not letting go. Having fun and laughter in your lives can simply be to let each other be. Don't be so strict about everything and everyone else living up to your expectations. Your expectations and rules that these are rules that we make up. They cause us such problems at times that because it's almost like they're self-imposed prisons. Like we imprison ourselves, denying ourselves of having fun and just leaving ourselves in that serious state. And let's admit it, being serious all the time is not fun, right? No one enjoys that. And by telling yourself that I'm a serious person, like, all you're doing is you're restricting yourself. It's that self-imposed prison, right? Even the Prophet ﷺ, we know that he was someone who was always smiling. Like, we know that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to race with his wife Aisha radiallahu anha. He used to smile a lot, and he would laugh till his molar teeth could be seen, even though he couldn't be heard. But he had fun with his family. So find a way to just let go and have fun with your family. Don't be so serious and impose your seriousness on everyone else, because that's so boring. It takes the life out of a nice day. If you're feeling bad right now because of what I'm saying, just stop. Let it go. And enjoy a moment of freedom from your expectations and from your seriousness. Think about all of the beautiful things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with in your life. Don't take anything for granted. And think of the funny, innocent things that you've experienced in your life. Whenever it happened, just those thoughts will lighten up your mood. And just revel in those thoughts. And take a few moments just to enjoy those memories. When you're in that lighter frame of mind, where you're in a light-hearted state of mind, like speak to your husband or wife from that place, because that's a place of joy. And inshallah, it will be so different. You can live from a place of happiness, but it's a choice. You don't have to be so serious and so imposing on yourself and on everyone else of your expectations, because that just sucks the fun out of life. Like, yes, there are rules that we should uphold, but the thing is, like, what's the point of upholding those rules? Your expectations I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the law, but what's the point of upholding those things when they destroy the fabric of the relationship? Find a middle ground. You don't have to just give up on everything, give up all your expectations and rules. But the thing is, it's really important just to recognize what's happening, one, where those emotions are coming from, and secondly, just let go of it and try and have some fun. So inshallah, I'm going to leave you with that. I would suggest if you're interested in this, if you're interested in hearing regularly about these sort of I'll be covering a lot of stuff that we humans go through. Like this is a journey of discovery that I'm going to be sharing in these podcasts, and I hope you're benefiting from them. Leave a comment, go to QuranicConnection.tv and subscribe for more of this, and I'll send it out to you inshallah on a weekly basis. And if you have any requests, by all means, sign up to the email list. There's a fairly sizable community, alhamdulillah, and send me an email, and or leave me a message, and inshallah I will try and address whatever issues you're concerned with, and I'll leave you with that. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.